Welcome to the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame podcast. Come celebrate with us as we profile the phenomenal careers of our Hall of Fame members. Hear exclusive stories, emotional memories, all right here. Enjoy the show.
Thank you, everybody. Obviously, thank you for being here. This is our Hall of Fame podcast with special guests. And, here we go again. Hall of Famer, a Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Famer, a five-time All-Star, father, husband, author. What else you got?
The husband part, we can kind of chill out on that. Yeah, great ex-husband. Yeah.
Great ex-husband, grandfather.
Grandfather, there we go.
Pretty much does everything. Great announcer.
I appreciate that, thank you.
And that is our guest tonight, and that is Marques Johnson. Marques, thank you for being here.
Thank you, my pleasure. I'm honored. It was a thrill to be inducted into the Wisconsin Hall of Fame, and my family was here for a reason. I'm trying to think if there was something else going on, or if they just came back for that specific event. But everybody was in town for some reason, so it made it for a wonderful night.
Well, you obviously well earned. You obviously had a great career here with the Bucks. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about kind of things you're doing now, things you did back then as an actor. A lot of people talk about a certain movie. We're going to talk about your career, and then we're going to talk about kind of the current Bucks. Okay. And kind of the playoffs and kind of where you see that going.
That'll be quick. That'll be a quick discussion.
That'll be a quick discussion because we know where the Bucks are going. They're going home.
That's too much already, as a matter of fact.
Unfortunately. But obviously, first I want to thank our sponsors. I really want to thank Nunn Bush really for their support. Kind of thank you, and I want to thank our host sponsor here, Central Standard. This is a wonderful place. If you haven't been here, you really need to come here. They got great food. They got great liquor. You really need to try it out. So. We're going to start, Marques. I want to start with just a simple question in terms of when you were drafted. Okay. Had you ever come to Milwaukee? And then kind of what was your thoughts on Milwaukee kind of right after you got drafted? What was your impression of the Bucks?
Well, what's interesting, there's a photo that I have in my phone of that draft in 1977. So there was no hoopla, there was no big collection of athletes in New York City in a green room. You were just wherever you were, at home in LA, working out, doing whatever you were doing. And I got a great photo of the commissioner at the time, Larry O'Brien. And he's at this big easel, kind of a big pad, fold over paper, and he's just writing the names down of who's drafted where. And so you see Kent Benson, Milwaukee Bucks, Otis Birdsong, Milwaukee Bucks, Kansas City Royals, not the Royals, the Kings, Kansas City Kings at that time. And then Marques Johnson, third to the Milwaukee Bucks. So there was not a whole lot of fanfare behind the draft. And so, but I had met with Don Nelson. He came out to Los Angeles, and the first thing he said was like, yeah, they told me you weren't 6'6", 6'6 and a half. They said you were 6'4", but look, you look to be all of 6'6". So, but I had on like these boots that had about a 5-inch heel, combed out my afro, standing on my toes. No, but but the only frame of reference that I had for Milwaukee, and this is gonna sound corny as heck, I know, but it was Happy Days and Laverne and Shirley. That's all I knew about Milwaukee and living in Los Angeles. And it seemed like a quaint enough place. I knew it was close to Chicago, and this is back in 1977. So it was a different time then, but that was the only point of reference that I had. I'd never been here before, didn't know anything about, they told me that it was cold and snowy and all that, but how cold could it get? How much snow can you get? My first year here, it was as cold as it was in like 25 years. 35, 40 straight days below freezing, some crazy number. I had no idea what it meant at that time. And then my second year, we got more snow than they'd had in about 30 years. So my first two winters, I had my little London fog, LA coat on, that the wind was just whipping through that did me absolutely no good. And I learned a whole lot about adapting to the Milwaukee winters very quickly. Quick story. And I don't want to dominate the conversation, but that's why I'm here. I was a rookie.
I can go sit down if you want.
Yeah. I got this. No, I was a rookie. I got this, Mark. No, but I was a rookie. It's a good day. So I'm coming out of the Mecca. It's after a game. It's cold. It's all get out. And we used to park our cars at the McDonald's parking lot. Wayne Embry owned that McDonald's. And so we would, right across on State Street, I think it is. So we'd run across the McDonald's, hop in our car and go. So I had an injury or something, so I'm the last one to leave. Nobody else is here or at the Mecca. So I run across the street, try and open up my car. I got it from Gordon Page Chevrolet, a white Monte Carlo with a blue drop top. Anyway, real nice. But anyway, so I go to open my car door and I can't get the car open.
It's frozen, isn't it?
I had no idea. What does that mean? I just got the right key. Did I take somebody else's key? I'm panicking. And by the grace of God, Lloyd Walton, who's from Chicago, went to Marquette. He passed by in this little 2-seater green Mercedes-Benz. And they used to call me Garvey for Marcus Garvey, not for any political reasons, just it was a good sounding nickname. He's like, Garvey, what's going on? I said, man, I can't open the door. Oh, your lock froze. He jumped out, took a cigarette lighter, give me a key. He heated it up, heated up the key, opened it right up. I was like, what's going on? Your lock just froze, man. It happens all the time. Keep a cigarette lighter with you at all times in the wintertime. So that was, kind of like my baptism in frigidity to Milwaukee.
I'm going to ask you a quick question here before we go to break. Who was your number one player you played with? Who did you love to play with?
Here in Milwaukee? Well, Lloyd was one because Lloyd was like a. If you know anything about Muhammad Ali, he had this hype man, Drew Bundini Brown, in this corner, and they would rumble, young man, rumble. They would always do this little shtick that they had, float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and so they had this shtick. But Lloyd was like my hype man. So when I would go on a roll on the court, and he was out there as a point guard, he would just be like, get some more, keep shooting, get some more, that's not enough, get some more. And so he was fun to play with. But at that time, and gonna get a little misty-eyed thinking about it, but Junior Bridgman was my first friend on the Milwaukee Bucks. He took me to a tavern after practice called Turan's, and we got some fried chicken wings and French fries, and Junior was, really good-looking guy, smart as all get out. He drove a Corvette Stingray and had the apple cap on. He was just the coolest dude that I could imagine. But as straight as they come, straight laced as they come. He's smart and all that good stuff. And so it was just a great collection of young players between Junior and Quinn Buckner and Brian Winters, and we just, our nickname at that point was Green and Growing.
Well, I remember, and there was a song.
Green and Growing.
Come on, sing it, Arlo, come on. We're going to go to break on that. Go ahead, just sing it down. That's all he's got. So with that, I'm going to go to break here, and we're going to hear from one of our sponsors, Central Standard.
Hey, Wisconsin sports fans, this is Evan Hughes, co-owner of Central Standard Craft Distillery and Central Standard Crafthouse Kitchen. We're proud to partner the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame to bring brand new podcasts to life. We're going to celebrate some of the most memorable moments from Wisconsin sporting history and really bring those moments to life. Our space offers some great experiences, such as this podcast. We really look forward to welcoming you to Central Standard Crafthouse and Kitchen. See you at the bar soon.
Okay, obviously, welcome back. It's great to have everybody here. We're obviously talking with Marques. Marques, you had a lot of good teams.
Yeah.
Had a lot of great teams, but you didn't have enough. There was always the Sixers or the Celtics in the way. How frustrating was that? You guys had a lot of success, but you just couldn't get over the top.
Yeah, and it started actually with the Denver Nuggets my rookie year. We took them to 7, David Thompson and Bobby Jones, coached by Larry Brown with this overalls and flowered shirts and all that stuff, patchwork overalls. He was wearing that as a coach. So we took them to 7. Then we lost to the Sonics in 7, and we had them down 3-2 at home and a chance to win the game. And I'll never forget Johnny Johnson, the late great Johnny Johnson out of Mesmer High School in Milwaukee, the veteran that he is. He tried to get in my head, so he started a fight with me on the floor.
Really?
And just bumped me and elbowed me, and I pushed him, like, what's up, man? Come on, as a bobbling ears. Get him, Marcus, get him. But it was just enough to kind of throw me off my game. It was a veteran move.
It actually worked?
Yeah. I think I still had 30 points that game, but it was just enough to throw me off a little bit and get all into this little, But so they beat us. And then, as you mentioned, it was always the Sixers and Dr. J. Initially, a great 7-game series around 80, 81. We lost in Game 7. I was a CBS player of the game with 36 points in a losing cause, but we still lost. And then it was Boston a couple of years. And so, 82, I think may have been the Sixers again. So the Sixers were always kind of the bane of our existence. Dr. J, he was an idol of mine growing up at Crenshaw High School. I loved him since 1972 when he was in the ABA playing with the Virginia Squires. They had the ABA game of the week, 10 o'clock Saturday morning. And I would watch him and just, wanted to do everything he could do except I didn't have the kind of hands he had to hold the ball and didn't jump quite as high. But yeah, so it was always Sixers in Boston. But look, this is how we look at it, Mark, how I look at it. You know, it's not like we lost to inferior opponents.
No,
It's
clearly.
not like we had a 3-1 lead and blew it a couple of times. No, I digress. No, but the point is that we're playing against some of the greatest front lines: Moses Malone, Bobby Jones, Caldwell Jones, Dr. J, Celtics, Robert Parrish, Kevin McHale, Cornbread Maxwell, Larry Bird. You know, you're playing against somebody all. You look back.
That's an amazing point.
Yeah, no. So you have nothing. You know, as my old coach John Wooden would say, as long as you get out there, play as hard, play as well as you can. Whatever happens, you can hold your head high. And we did that. So it was disappointing. Trust me, it was frustrating. We had some emotional locker rooms after we get eliminated again. Bob Lanier crying, and you know, just toward the end of his career, I felt bad for him. And just, I'm not gonna have too many more chances. You know, just crying and just, you know, snot dripping everywhere. And it was really emotional for a lot of the guys. But I'm 25, 26. You know, I'm.
You're thinking you got more time.
I got more time. Yeah, okay. Well, we'll get them next year. You know, but for some of these guys, there was no next year. But it was frustrating. But I thought the quality of the competition that we lost to was just on a whole nother level.
Let me ask you, off the court, kind of later on, you went on to be an actor. And you were in a pretty well-known movie called White Men Can't Jump. You had a pretty well-known character named Raymond.
Yeah.
Kind of how did that come about, and how often do you still hear about that character?
I hear about it every day. I can't get away from it. Thank you. Raymond, is that you? I can walk into an airport. This ain't me, you know. But no, that came about. First, I studied acting. I took a lot of drama in middle school and high school. At UCLA, I was a theater arts major, did some plays and the whole shot. Middle school, I was Conrad Birdie and Bye Bye Birdie. Had to sing and dance. I was Little Abner and Little Abner. So I was really into acting. It wasn't just like a fly-by-night thing. So this part came along. Somebody told me that they were casting for this movie. They were looking for, you know, a good playground ball player who could act. And so they brought me in to audition with Wesley Snipes. And there was a scene when I prepared for it where I had to pull a knife out on Wesley. But I saw a movie called The Revenge of J.D. Green or something where this guy pulled out this razor blade, did this little tricky thing with the. So my father was a barber, so I got one of his razors, practiced kind of opening up the razor with one hand. Okay. So when it got to that point, I opened up the razor, I chased Wesley Snipes around the audition room, and we had a great audition, and the director, Ron Shelton, was like, you got the part. But when we start shooting, leave that razor at home. You're gonna kill somebody. We got prop razors. We got props for that, you know. But we had the greatest time in the world. Woody Harrelson, Wesley Snipes, Rosie Perez. I mean, it was just a great cast, great basketball players. And we practiced for 6 weeks at a local park near my home just to get everybody in shape.
In advance of the movie.
In advance of the movie, just to get everybody in shape. And the first week, Wesley Snipes could not do a 3-man weave, and if you messed up, you had to go again. So whenever Wesley was in your line, you were like, "Oh, my shoe's untied." You go ahead and you go with Wesley. Yeah. So finally, Wesley, he's like, "Oh, I see what y'all doing. Just give me a couple of weeks." And he got it down after a couple of weeks.
So who was better, Wesley or Harrison?
Wesley was the better athlete.
Right.
Wesley could stand flat-footed at 5'7", 5'8", go up and grab the rim with 2 hands easily. You know, Woody was the better basketball player. You know, Woody was a gym rat basketball player. We were playing at the Hollywood Y one time, all the actors in the movie, and he called something, and I said, that's not a foul, that's some bull crap, Woody, that's a bull crap. And he's like, "Are you trying to impugn my integrity? You're trying to impugn?" I said, "Look, first of all, man, I went to Crenshaw. I don't know what impugn means. And then secondly, that was a bull crap foul, and you know it." He just laughed, and we just had a ball, man.
Love that. So I'm gonna take a break here. We're gonna come back, and we're gonna talk about the current Bucks, talk about the playoffs, and then also about Giannis. Obviously, probably a question you haven't heard a lot about. So, but kind of here before we go to break, I want to talk about one of our sponsors, and that's Nunn Bush shoes. As I mentioned earlier, I wear Nunn Bush shoes now. Love them. I've been wearing them a few months. And the thing I was saying earlier is that they're just so comfortable, and there's something that I really enjoy wearing. I can wear them whether it's casual, whether it's dress, really have a good time with them, really enjoy them, really for the work or for the weekends. So, I mean, something like they're a local company that they actually were here in Milwaukee. They've been here since actually 1912, over 100 years, very impressive. And just really a cool company and somebody I would encourage you to support. You can find these, Marcus. See, here's a hint for you. You can find these in any Macy's, you can find them in Kohl's, and you can find them in Zappos. And just for you, I have a special today. MVP 20, and you get 20% off. So look at that. You were an MVP. I know you were an MVP. So you should know them, and you should follow them on Instagram and on Facebook at kind of Nunn Bush shoes. So with that, I'm gonna go to break here. Thank you.
Hey Wisconsin, it's Bonnie Blair. I'm in the Hall of Fame. I was actually inducted in the class of 1995. But coming up is going to be this next induction where we're going to see sporting icons, premium experiences, and deep connections as we are on the lookout for the 76 Wisconsin Sports Hall of Fame, and those people are going to be unveiled. You're not going to want to miss this experience, their legacies being memorialized right in person. But now, back to the show.
Marques, having a great conversation. Love your stories. You are amazing with your stories. Let's kind of talk about the current state of the Bucks. Okay. You cover them. You're obviously with them a lot. You know, kind of what happened this year in your eyes? There were high expectations, as there have been for a number of years. 2021 was an amazing year. They've kind of lost the last couple of years. What happened this year?
Well, I mean, it's been injuries ever since, Chris Middleton went down in the Chicago series, I believe, and that kind of started him downhill. Last couple of years, it's been Giannis out against Miami early. It's been Dame out all of last playoffs with the Achilles injury. So this year it's been Giannis. Giannis has missed about 36, 37 games. I'm not sure where it is right now, but around that number. And this team was put together to take advantage of Giannis's ability to attract defenders, draw gravity, as we call it in the NBA, attract defenders around him, a gravitational pull when he gets the ball, spread out to shooters. So you got A.J. Green and Gary Trent Jr. and all these great shooters around him. But then when you don't have that gravitational pull because he's not there, now it changes the whole equation. And these guys who are not really adept at creating their own shot, putting the ball on the floor, taking guys one-on-one, now they've got to try and change their game. So, it was tough. We've had so many injuries. Kevin Porter Jr. got hurt at the start of the season after, coming out the gate like gangbusters. Giannis has been hurt a lot. And just recently, it's been a lot of Torian Prince missed a long period of time with the neck injury that I had that ended my career when I played with the Clippers. And so I was living vicariously through him when he came back, but he missed about 2 or 3 months. And he's a key component, guys like that. So injuries was the main thing, and it just kind of threw off the whole equation in terms of how this team was put together.
Obviously, I'm sure the number one question you hear, we all talk about it, is kind of what's the future for Giannis? What do you think happens in the offseason? Is he here next year?
Oh, man, that's a tough one. I really don't know, Mark. I mean, I hope, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. I was doing a podcast with my son, Chris, earlier, the Here District, that is on the Milwaukee Bucks network, and that we were talking about how Doc is like saying to Ryan Rollins, that he's had a breakout year, but when Giannis comes back next year, he's going to have to defer and take a step back. And I'm like, well, we hope Giannis comes back, if Giannis comes back. I mean, we'll know a lot by, I think, September or so when he has the ability to sign a major extension. It's just so up in the air right now. Giannis has a lot of pride. Giannis wants to win. Giannis is at a stage now at 30, 31 years old. He sees that window of opportunity is shrinking into a porthole, and it might be a peephole pretty soon. So it's getting smaller and smaller. So he's got to maximize these years he has left. I understand that. Hopefully, John Horst and our executives will be able to put together a more competitive group of players around him. Ousmane Dieng, I think, is a guy that's going to help us in the future. Kevin Porter Jr., when he gets back. Ryan Rollins, one of the leading candidates for most improved players. So the nucleus, Bobby Portis, the nucleus is there. It's just making a deal or two to convince Giannis that this is a team. And Giannis he's great with the verbiage, because he never really, he kind of talks in 2 directions at one time. Like, I love Milwaukee. My family was born here. My kids were born here. My mom lives here with me 10 feet away, but I want to compete for a championship. So the onus is on the Bucks management to see what they can put together to try and entice him to stick around. I love for him to. It's something special. Dirk Nowitzki and Larry Bird and these great players, Magic Johnson, who play their whole career in one city. There's a specialness about that I didn't get when I was a Milwaukee Buck. I wanted to go home to Los Angeles. Unfortunately, it wasn't the Lakers, it was the Clippers. Whew, that's a whole other story. But I hope Giannis is one of these guys that can play, 15, 17, 18 years in the same city. It'd be great. It'd be awesome for us, but it'd even be better for him in terms of his legacy.
Think about now, kind of the playoffs starting here in a couple weeks. Who's the team to beat? Who in your eyes will win the championship this year?
Oh, that's a good question. You know, Oklahoma City is awful tough still, and they've got the experience of having done so last year. A lot depends on health. You know, the Pistons look good, but Cade Cunningham is out. The Knicks, I'm not completely sold on coming out of the East right now. So I think the East, I mean, the Celtics to me are with Jason Tatum back and the way they play. But he's back. But the way they played without him is even more amazing. Joe Mazzulla has just done a tremendous job. So, you know, it's hard for me to go against. The Lakers have had an incredible March, and with this maybe being LeBron's last year, they could be a team coming out of the West that could surprise some people. So it's about 5 or 6 teams right now that could win it all. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, the MVP, they're intact from last year. They got the experience of knowing how to win a championship. So I'd have to go with them until somebody can prove me otherwise.
Let me end with a question in terms of the Hall of Fame. Think about when you were inducted into the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame. Kind of what did it mean to you, and kind of why was it important to you?
Well, you know, that's I love Hall of Fames. I didn't make the Naismith this year. I'm a four-time finalist. Yeah, four-time finalist, but it didn't happen this year. But it's just always special to be recognized as one of the best for whatever geographic area it is. I'm in the Southern California Hall of Fame, the LA City Hall of Fame, the California Hall of Fame, the College Basketball Hall of Fame, the UCLA Hall of Fame, the Wisconsin Hall of Fame. I got a lot of Hall of Fames, and all of these just that one more to kind of complete the picture. But it's special because it's always the best of the best. It's the most elite.
Especially when you're not from Wisconsin.
So it's an amazing honor, and to be inducted with some of the great Donald Driver, some of these great Packers, you know, that I grew up loving and watching, and not grew up, but just have a lot of admiration and respect for as I've watched them play. So it's one of the most special honors anytime. But to be Wisconsin, like you say, I'm not from here, but I am, because I've been here the last 11, 12 years working with the Bucks. It's been the greatest 11 or 12 years of my life. They rescued me from doing morning drive radio, where I was getting up at 3:30 a.m. every day. I was at the studio at 5 a.m. I'm talking about horse racing and ice hockey and car racing and drag racing, which I know nothing about. But I got a chance to do Milwaukee Bucks basketball, and then to have that happen on top of it, to be inducted into the Wisconsin Hall of Fame. You know, it's one of the most special moments of my life, so I'm just so honored to be a part of it.
Well, great. Thank you for that. I mean, we do have a special message here that's coming up from our Hall of Fame president, and that's Donald Driver.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is your boy Donald Driver, president of the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame, with a very special message. Join me down in Grand Geneva on July 20th with Jordy Nelson, Mason Crosby, Bonnie Blair, and your favorite Wisconsin personalities from an annual Hall of Fame golf outing. 400-yard drive, experience on every hole, and a day filled with incredible memories. Do not miss out. Let's get back to the program.
Thank you. Obviously, thank you, Marques, for being here. I got some great audience questions. We're going to have some fun with you, and I'm going to talk about that. The first one is, who are the 4 players, the 4 players that either in the past or present that you would have loved to play with?
Wow. Okay, the 4 players. So Wilt Chamberlain would be one, just because I got to know Wilt after he had retired. He was in his mid-40s and was playing with us when I was like in my early 20s out at UCLA and dominating even in his 40s, and just would hold court and tell us all about his experiences as a player. So Wilt would be one. I mean, probably Kareem would be on that list because of my respect for him, being a UCLA guy, winning the championship with the Bucks in 1971, multiple MVP guy. He would be up there. See, I'm an old school guy. You know, Magic would be another. I mean, Magic, I'd love to run the wing with Magic Johnson. And
Take all the layups here.
Yeah, man. I mean, you know, it's funny. I was in the All-Star game in 1986. And so I was on a fast break with Magic in the middle. You know, Magic is known for these no-look passes. So I'm on one side, James Worthy, his teammate with the Lakers, is on the other. This is 1986 All-Star game down in Dallas. So I know Magic is going to like do a no-look. So whoever he looks at, that's not good. So Magic is dribbling. So Magic turns and looks at me. I was like, no, look the other way. But he looked at me and passed to James Worthy for a dunk. But I would have loved to play with Magic. And then current guys,
How about one current guy?
Oh boy, I don't know. I'm tempted to say LeBron, but I'm gonna go with the Joker down in Denver. He just finished. People don't get the enormity of what he's just done. He just put together 2 triple-double seasons where he's averaged triple-doubles back-to-back. That's crazy. For a center. Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy. So that would be my 4.
All right, here's another question from one of our kind of what's the number one thing that's changed in the game from kind of when you played to now? And I mean, obviously, is it good?
Yeah. Well, the obvious answer is what? The three-point shot.
Right.
The teams, and it's remarkable the distance. And it used to be all catch and shoot threes. Now these guys have the ability to shoot pull-up threes, shoot it off the dribble, and step backs off the dribble. But to me, one of the biggest changes in the game, and it's a subtle change that you have to really pay attention to, and I saw it, I think, with LeBron 12, 14 years ago, but it's the ability to pass across your body going left one direction, but to throw a bullet pass to the dead corner 25, 30 feet away, hit that shooter right in the shot pocket, the passing. The strength of these guys in terms of passing the basketball and some of the angles. Giannis is another. You've seen how his passing has evolved over the year. He's throwing behind the back, no looks, and cross his body and catch a defender, turn his head, he'll shoot it by his ear. But the way these guys, the strength in passing right now has been really impressive.
I'm gonna ask a question because this is something you and I talked about beforehand. You got the opportunity to play for Coach Wooden, a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. Kind of what was that like?
One of the greatest experiences ever. I mean, just going into it, this team had not lost a game in 2 years. When I got there in 1973, Bill Walton, Jamal Wilkes, Dave Myers, that great crew that they had. And Coach Wooden, he won 10 championships in 12 years, but he was just a genuine human being. He was funny as all get out, had one of the greatest senses of humor that I've ever been around. Really? He was just always, a laugh a minute, just in a real deadpan kind of, real subtle kind of a way. But he was just a really fun guy to play with. And, the pyramid of success, I still use that in my life today. Every morning I take a precept from the pyramid, whether it's faith, whether it's adaptability, whether it's resourcefulness or whatever it is. And I kind of, meditate and do a little thing in the morning that I call my morning routine on one of his precepts. So, he always said that we wouldn't really fully recognize the things that he was trying to teach us at that time as 17, 19, 20-year-olds until 30, 40 years later. And he was absolutely right. But Coach Wooden, being around him, to be able to be a part of his final championship in 1975 as a starter on that team. I was a Western Regional's MVP against Arizona 35-12 that got us into the Final Four.
Not that you remember it all.
Well, my teammates Dave Myers and Richard Washington kind of kept us on that road to a championship, but I kind of helped get us there. But just playing for him that year was one of the greatest experiences. Playing for him for 2 years, but especially that final year was a great year.
Well, Marques, I really appreciate you being here. I really appreciate you being involved with the Bucks and your energy and staying in Milwaukee. You've really added a lot to our city.
Well,
so
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's been my pleasure.
You are a longtime and very honored member of the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame. So please, a round of applause. I also want to thank our sponsors with Nunn Bush. Really thank you for your support. I want to thank our hosts here at Central Standard. I mean, again, a wonderful place to come. Please come down here. I want to thank our audience. I want to thank our listeners, and really watch us come out next week. I want you to subscribe. I want you to follow. I mean, really get involved. Our next one, we're doing 6 of these this year. Our next one will probably be in late May to early June, and we'll have another great guest here, kind of here like Marques. So Marques, again, thank you.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you all so much for tuning in to the Wisconsin Athletic Hall of Fame podcast, brought to you by Central Standard and Nunn Bush. Don't miss out on our next edition with more stories, memories, and analysis. Stay tuned.
Let me first man. Oh, bye.